Yo, what's up everyone? Kyrios here, and today I'm going to go over the daily and weekly and more, the Beyond section guide. Now, you can actually play this game for like 5 minutes to 10 minutes a day, or you can play it for 4 hours a day, and I'm going to show you how you do both. So if you guys can't hit that like and subscribe, let's get started. All right, guys, so we're going to go ahead and kick it off. Now, we're going to start with the shortest to the longest, but I'm going to hit you with the big tip right away. Big tip! Okay, right before we talk about dailies, I do want to talk about your Echoes of War. Now, you do get 3 of these a week, and it does have to do with taking down some of the story missions. And this is where you get some of your rare materials in order to talent up a lot of your characters. Now, which ones to talent up is going to be very important because you're only going to get so many of these a week. So we'll have to cover that on a different guide. But what I do want to say is that if you don't want to do these until the last final day or as close to the last final day. Because what happens is every single time you get the equilibrium up, there's a chance that some of your calyxes and some of your locations get an actual upgrade where you get more materials, you get better materials, and you have a chance at getting maybe, say, for example, gold gear instead of actually purple gear. So just in case you're on that grind to get to that equilibrium 2, 3, 4, 5, just wait to the end of the week to make sure that it is, but make sure you don't lose out on that. I almost did this whole video without doing the daily missions. Make sure you're doing your daily missions. Tons of TL EXP, tons of star gems in there, and a good amount of credits. Make sure you're doing this first. Takes literally like 2 seconds to blow through this, and a lot of times they stack up on each other. Now, talking about your dailies, the dailies are really simple to do, right? You can blaze through them. You can teleport to any single one that you want to. In the beginning game, I highly suggest you just farm heavily on XP materials and condensed aether. Do not worry about any of this other stuff because you're going to be able to collect this here in just a minute on a big tip. And then I wouldn't worry about gear until we get to the mid game, which is somewhere past the 40s, 50s when you start getting actual gold gear. All right, that brings us to our simulated universe. Now, this is a weekly activity. Now, I'm going to say something that's actually going to blow your mind, but let's talk about the simulated universe real quick. You want to try and progress as far as you can. You want to try and get these 3,500 points every single week to make sure you get every single one of these resources. Pro tip, save these herd bonds to make sure you're buying the light cones first before you buy any summons. And then make sure that you are watching my other video if you need some pointers and some tips. Now, you can play this over and over again, even if you fail, in order to get points, in order to upgrade your ability tree, which I highly suggest. But this brings me to your 4-hour, part of your 4-hour farming regiment is you can actually go in there. And I go back to World 2, you can go in World 3, it doesn't matter what you do. You can go take down elite enemies and boss enemies, and they drop materials. And what's so important about that, you can actually farm up to 100 of these or so a week. And what's so important about that is that you can actually, and those materials get better and better as you go up in the world. You can go to your synthesize, and you can actually take some of those materials. Like say you have a ton of Thief's Instinct, but you need these modules. You can actually just take a lot of the materials that you have and just convert those. And since you're getting those for free from those elite enemies, and you're getting a chance at getting new unlockables for your simulated universe, so you can get all those different buffs, or maybe Kyrios or anything like that, that's going to go a very, very long way throughout the entire game until you're completely maxed out. Okay, so I know I should have probably put this at the start of the video, but another thing that you want to do every day that should be straightforward is your assignments. Now, the reason why I delayed this slightly is because you really don't want to farm these materials right here as of right now in the beginning part of the game. You should really be doing either XP materials, records, credits, or synthesis materials, which maybe not synthesis materials, but these ones right here, mainly because you can farm the rest of these with the guide that we just showed you. All right, number 3. Now, this I'm going to have to make another daily updated guide at some point, but you're definitely going to want to take down any of these missions that have green right here. Now, even though this is only 5,000 credits, that's 5,000 credits a day you can get, which is what, 25,000? My math stinks. 35,000 credits a week. That's pretty good, especially if you don't have the battle pass and you're true free to play. It finally brings me to the very long-winded portion of this guide. Now, I have not made it to the 3rd zone yet, and the 3rd zone is where you're going to want to farm as well. There's going to be areas you can farm, but I can really only show the first 2, and I'm going to point out to a website called pridewin.gg. I'll have the link down below. They've got some fantastic maps, But if you really go back to all the different areas, like say I was to go to this base zone, right, and teleport right here, all the enemies in the game actually respawn, all the elite enemies, and you can take them down in order to get even more resources. So this is the kind of your build your own adventure portion of the game, where you can go back, you can farm enemies in order to get more materials and to really min-max your game. You can see here on the left-hand side, we got all those materials right there. We got some extra credits. All the smashable boxes come back where you can get more additional stuff for getting items for making food. And I know you're probably not using food yet, but as you get way later into the game and you start taking down some hard fights, you're actually going to want to start using some food because it's actually going to turn the tides of battle. Big tip. All right. Another pro tip that you can do is you can actually level characters by going back and taking down all these enemies. Now, is this part of your daily guide? No, not really, but it's just an additional tip for you to know about.
I don't want to be alone. Dodge this! Take this! Rise, Venus! Get it now? That's
As you see, our characters got level 2 and some of our characters got some EXP. Is that really slow and tedious? Yeah, but if you can one-shot it with one character, you might as well do it, right? So that is what my current weeklies is. I would go through every single zone as you have energy to do it. So go through every single zone, go through every single map, and you can get yourself a ton of materials and these start to stack up. So that's kind of my 5 minute to 4 hours a day daily regiment that you can do. Make sure you do this on every single world, and I'll make an updated guide if that changes over time. Now, finally, the last one we want to talk about is not actually a weekly. It's kind of bi-weekly or whenever it resets. We have the Memory of Chaos, which is, if you played Genshin, it's kind of like Spiral Abyss that resets every 2 to 3 weeks. And essentially, you have to go through all these different floors. You get materials, you get items, and then you get shards for additional 4-star light cones, which are really, really good. Some of my favorite light cones are in there, like Only Silence Remains, a great, great light cone. Highly suggest you do this, but only when you've run out of everything else to do and you need to do it before it resets. All right, guys, that video somehow came out to be a lot more long-winded than I anticipated. So you could pick your own adventure. You could play for 5 minutes. You can play for 20 minutes. You can play for 2 hours. You could play for 6 hours if you really wanted to. There's things you can do, and the more you play, the more it's going to make it so you don't have to use your energy on things that you can technically farm. So it really depends on how much you respect your own time. Let me know in the comments down below if this helped you out. I'll see you guys on the next video, and fist bump from me to you.